Why is the market willing to pay up to $100 for 1 kilogram of this sea snail? While conservationists keep warning about pollution, an Australian company quietly carried out the boldest project in agricultural history, building a 20-kilometer-long artificial reef out of construction materials. They do not spend a cent on electricity, do not spend a single grain of feed, yet they take over 20% of the global market. Let's dive into this crazy mechanism. For 30 years, humanity has tried to bring the ocean onto land. Traditional abalone farms build thousands of massive tanks, using high-power pump systems to draw seawater, filter it clean, control temperature, and pump oxygen 24/7. That is a serious problem of thermodynamics and biosecurity. Data from the International Aquaculture Association in 2023 shows a bleak picture. To produce 1 kilogram of abalone meat on land, farms in China and Chile must consume an average of 15 to 20 kilowatt hours of electricity. To visualize it, this figure is 5 times the energy needed to produce 1 kilogram of industrial beef and 10 times that of chicken. In a context of soaring global energy prices, this model is eroding its own profits. Moreover, land-based farms are hidden disease risks. Look at the lesson from South Africa in the early 2000s or California in 2011, where wasting syndrome wiped out millions of abalone in just a few weeks because stocking density was too high in recirculating water. When humans try to control nature with machines, nature always strikes back with bacteria. Meanwhile, global wild abalone output has fallen 40% over the past 2 decades due to overfishing and climate change. The market is desperate for supply, but the old method has reached its limit. Engineers at Rare Foods Australia flipped the thinking: why spend money pumping water and gambling on disease when the Southern Ocean moves billions of cubic meters of water for free every second through ocean currents? They were missing only one thing that the ocean does not have in this area, what they call a substrate. Flinders Bay is naturally a flat, barren, sandy bottom where abalone cannot live because they need a hard rock surface, and the only solution was concrete. Do not confuse these concrete blocks with the kind of material used to build skyscrapers. These are masterpieces of fluid dynamics, called habitats. The difference lies at the molecular level and the macro structure. Each habitat's block weighs exactly 900 kilograms. This is the optimal ratio number in marine engineering, heavy enough not to be swept away by 10-meter waves of the Southern Ocean, yet light enough not to sink into the loose, sandy seabed. The engineers applied the principle of biomimicry. If you look closely under an electron microscope, the surface of this concrete is not smooth and flat. It has a rough microstructure, similar to the surface of natural coral reefs or shark skin. This is extremely important because larvae and algae spores need micro anchor points to latch onto in the first hours of contact. In terms of chemical composition, ordinary construction concrete uses Portland cement with a very high alkaline pH, causing chemical damage to any marine organism that tries to touch it. Rare Foods Australia developed a secret formula, replacing part of the cement with fly ash and blast furnace slag, combined with pozzolanic additives. The result is a concrete with a neutral pH as soon as it sets. This is why, after just 14 days of soaking, these blocks disappear under a dense biological coating, while normal concrete can take years. The next secret lies in a geometric design, with louvers tilted at a precise 45-degree angle, leveraging the Bernoulli principle. Self-cleaning mechanism. When ocean currents flow through the narrow slots of the concrete block, the flow speed increases suddenly, creating low pressure. This force acts like a natural vacuum cleaner, sweeping waste and sediment out of the abalone shelters. The result? A completely sterile environment with no human scrubbing required. Self-feeding mechanism behind the concrete block. The flow becomes turbulent and slows down, This causes nutrient-rich drifting algae and plankton to be trapped and settle onto the concrete ledges. The abalone just stays there and food is delivered automatically. The feed conversion ratio here is an astonishing number 0, meaning humans do not spend 1 gram of feed to produce meat. The process of creating this superfood begins on shore, but ends in the harshness of nature. Juvenile abalone are raised in hatcheries until they reach a shell size of 40 millimeters. This is the biological critical point. Smaller than 40 millimeters, they will be eaten by crabs immediately. Larger than 40 millimeters, they will lose the ability to adapt to water pressure. Commercial divers must dive to a depth of 20 meters, using their hands to attach each abalone onto the concrete blocks. This is the only stage that requires human intervention. From that moment, the fight for survival begins. In onshore tanks, still water makes abalone lazy. Their muscle is soft, mushy, and contains a lot of water. But in Flinders Bay, abalone face some of the most violent waves on the planet. To avoid being swept away into doom, they must exert themselves intensely, clinging tightly to the concrete surface with their adductor muscle. Continuous tension for 3 years has completely changed their cellular structure. Muscle fiber conversion. Comparative histological research shows that ranched abalone have a proportion of fast-twitch muscle fibers that is more than 35% higher than tank-raised ones. This fiber type is denser, contains less water, and is responsible for the signature firm, crisp, chewy texture that Asian connoisseurs call kogan. Chemical flavor profile. Mass spectrometry analysis shows the difference lies in the concentration of free amino acids. Abalone in Flinders Bay, because they eat a diverse natural algae diet, accumulate a sharply higher content of glycine and glutamic acid. These are the 2 key compounds that create umami, the 5th taste that Japanese chefs especially prize. While tank-raised abalone often tastes bland or slightly fishy from pellet feed, this ranched variety has a deep, sweet finish and the aroma of the ocean. Superior nutrition. The latest laboratory analyses in 2024 show that this abalone contains levels of omega-3 fatty acids and selenium that are twice as high as naturally caught abalone in calm waters, turning it into a true bioavailable superfood. This is when the price to pay turns into a massive positive number. This model has completely eliminated the most expensive CapEx, capital expenditure, and OpEx operating expenditure in the seafood industry. Electricity costs 0 dong. The ocean provides current energy. Feed costs 0 dong. The ocean provides drifting algae. Antibiotic costs 0 dong. Low stocking density and strong flow eliminate pathogens. The only costs are security and harvesting. But look deeper into the macroeconomic model. Rare Foods Australia has created a business model with a gross margin that outperforms competitors. While land-based farms face gross margin pressure of 15 to 20% because input costs fluctuate with oil prices and grain prices, this artificial reef model is immune to raw material inflation. The ocean does not raise feed prices. The financial result is shocking. Rare Foods Australia is now harvesting steadily at nearly 100 tons per year. To put that number in context, total natural abalone production worldwide is steadily falling toward an alarm level, making this supply even scarcer. While tank-raised abalone is priced at $30 to $40 US dollars per kilogram. Product from this concrete coral reef is chased by Michelin restaurants in Tokyo, Shanghai, and Paris at prices from $100 to $120 US dollars per kilogram. Annual revenue has passed the $4 to $5 million US dollars mark and is growing exponentially as new reefs come online. Moreover, the company is moving toward making money from blue carbon credits. Creating artificial reefs helps restore marine vegetation, absorbing carbon dioxide more effectively than tropical rainforests. This is a third revenue stream that no traditional aquaculture farm has been able to reach. It does not stop there. Australian investors have discovered a secondary income source on the very same square meter of leased seabed. This is a textbook example of fixed asset optimization. The environment at a depth of 20 meters beneath this artificial reef combines four golden factors for aging wine: stable temperature, always cool, with no thermal swings. Complete darkness prevents ultraviolet rays from damaging the wine's structure. High pressure keeps the cork tighter, preventing excessive oxidation. Micro-movement ocean currents gently rock the bottles continuously, speeding up the aging of tannins. They drop cages of wine bottles to sit beside the concrete blocks. After 12 months, these bottles are hauled up, covered in beautiful barnacles and coral. A normal bottle, priced at $30 after being aged on the seabed, is auctioned for $150 to $500. Why does the price increase tenfold? It is not just the taste, it is the story. The ultra-wealthy do not buy wine, they buy the experience. Each bottle is an artifact, salvaged from the ocean, carrying the imprint of time and marine life. No two bottles are the same. RFA has turned an agricultural product into a collectible work of art. This is the art of maximizing profit on every square centimeter of seabed without spending an extra cent on land, rent, or building storage. Of course, getting rich from nature has never been easy. The biggest risk does not come from the market, but from the ocean itself. Even though they weigh 900 kilograms, in century storms the concrete blocks can still be shifted. More dangerous is the phenomenon of seabed liquefaction. When waves are too strong, constantly changing water pressure makes sand grains lose friction and behave like a liquid. This is like standing on quicksand. The sandy foundation below can shake and swallow the entire farm, burying millions of dollars within hours. The engineering team must use seabed scanning sonar every week and real-time seismic sensors to ensure the base does not subside. The second risk is theft. With assets worth millions of dollars lying exposed on the unguarded ocean floor, the area becomes a target for opportunistic diver groups. A full mesh bag of abalone can be worth up to $10,000 on the black market, a temptation too great to ignore. The company must maintain surface radar systems, thermal cameras, aerial patrol drones, and a 24/7 guard fleet, turning these waters into a hardened security zone. They even coordinate with the local Coast Guard to conduct crackdowns, using underwater acoustic positioning technology to detect the breathing sounds of unknown divers entering the area. However, the most surprising thing is the environmental impact. Early critics have been forced into silence by the latest biological reports. The once deadly sandy bottom area has now disappeared. In its place is an artificial reef exploding with life. Independent environmental impact assessment reports confirm that biomass density in the concrete deployment zone has increased 400% compared with the control area. The concrete blocks have attracted lobsters, yellow stripe, scad, snapper, and hundreds of plankton species back. From a monoculture base, this place has become a complex, biodiversity-rich ecosystem. Concrete, the most hated material in nature, conservation, has ironically become the backbone for restoring life to the ocean. The model at Flinders Bay does not stop at Australia's borders. It is becoming a detailed blueprint for the future of global food security. Today, delegations from New Zealand, Canada, and even Mediterranean countries are studying this technology. Why? Because their coastlines face the same problem. Seafood demand is rising, but there is no land left to dig farming ponds, and natural seas have been depleted. Imagine how this technology could scale not only abalone. These concrete coral reefs can be redesigned to farm sea urchins for the Japanese market, scallops for the US market, or lobsters for the European market. This is the concept of regenerative ocean farming, where we do not exhaust nature, but build nature so it can feed us. While Elon Musk is trying to send humans to Mars because he worries Earth will run out of resources, right here, under the ocean floor, humans have found a way to turn a desert into fertile farmland without a single drop of fresh water or a single watt of electricity. This may be the answer to the problem of feeding 10 billion people in 2050. The model at Flinders Bay is proving a new truth. Industrialization does not necessarily have to oppose nature. By truly understanding physics and biology, we can create systems that deliver enormous profits while also regenerating habitats. We poured concrete to build skyscraper cities on land, and now we pour concrete to build biological cities under the ocean. The price to pay is boldness, but the reward is a sustainable future. One final question for you. If you knew that the luxury seafood on your banquet table was raised on industrial concrete blocks, would you be willing to pay 3 times more to taste it? Or should we let the seabed sleep, even if it is only a barren land? Leave your view in the comments. And do not forget to subscribe to the channel to discover the most groundbreaking industrial secrets in the world that you have never known about.